Indaliwisi, Wanahamugwasit, Najio Banawabskawi, Indalabama Kawasus Nilbanawabskawi, Nagakakagus Nilti Bayik. Welcome back, everyone, to the afternoon session of Healing Turtle Island. I hope that the morning went smoothly for you. I just came back from doing ceremony up at the fire here at Wijukum Tiltina, and have been very, very touched by all of the stories and all of the wisdom that was shared over the last 2 days. And I'm really looking forward to this afternoon and this evening. We're going to start a little bit out of order this afternoon because we had a challenge with one of our speakers wasn't able to get here in the morning. And so they have been able to join us this afternoon. So we are going to start off this morning with Mindahi, and I ask everyone, if you're not on, to make sure your speaker is off because it brings your picture to the forefront if your speaker is on and there's any noise coming from it. So make sure that your speaker is off so that the camera stays focused on the person who is speaking. So I'm going to now turn it over to Mindahi to start our afternoon sessions. Mindahi.
Izengwa Gikihe Kwada Izengwa Gikihe Ku Dihmewa Boykwa Boy Nuna Nukwa Dihmewa Munshingintini Kwada Munshingintini Ku Archi Chidada Chinana Chiakti Chichunchi Chioka Dihmewa Tokaramectinu Zaki, Tokaramectinu Moy, Kamadi Makimu, Kamadi Makita Dihmewa. With the permission of the four corners and the tree of life, acknowledging that we are here as human beings and that we have been here as the reflection of the four sacred elements of life. Acknowledging that the Great Spirit is giving us this opportunity, this time and space to go through difficult times, but also in a great opportunity to remember who we are as human beings. My name is Mindahi Bastida from the Otomi Toltec peoples, Central Mexico. But also related to the Turtle Island and to the Anahuac and also to the Abiyayala lands and territories. From this day, we acknowledge the four colors of life, but also the rainbow. As a covenant to get touch to the underworld dimensions and also to the Father Sky dimensions. So we are here today in this beautiful circle, calling upon our spiritual authorities, Zambata, the Valley of the Moon, and also to the great constructions and the caves and the sacred sites, especially those volcanoes that are being there for millennia, for millions of years, and that tell us how to live in peace and harmony, but mainly in responsibility with life. Acknowledging the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, that we are here for this unification process in this beautiful Nanshimehoi, the land of the ancestors. And that the eagle and the condor are coming together so we can also call other brothers and sisters. And remembering that we are here just for a while, not forever. that we are in touch with the crystal people, with the elements of life, acknowledging the sacred grandfather fire that is now telling us to come together, come back home, and talk around the fire, to receive instructions how to live in peace and action, in good feelings, with clean ideas, and that we can come together as family, the elders are in the big need to talk with the younger generations that we are living through these difficult times. And it's the grandpa fire who is going to lead us in this sacred relationship. That the original instructions have to transcend from the past to the present and to the future generations to come. Now that we are living through these difficult times, that Mother Earth is heating up in the womb, that Mother Earth is telling us that she's also crying, even in the Dead Sea region. And acknowledging the peoples of Africa, that they are bringing also an ancestral voice of Mother Earth. And we acknowledge the dragon and the things as well, because this is the time of the new dawn. And is telling us how to walk to the sacred sites in pilgrimage, that we were given these 2 feet to walk and pay respect. And that respect is the offering that we can give to those entities, to those allies that are waiting for us to feed them with the spiritual food. But also are telling us that we can bring the voice of Mother Earth and other relatives in several places, but mainly among us. So we are meeting our prophecies. Brothers and sisters, it was May 3rd, 2026. It was May 3rd, 2013 to May 3rd, 2026. That we have 13 years. From the last Mayan account that ended 13 Bactun, and we are crossing to another level of consciousness. We have this time, this opportunity to come together, to carry out our duties, to deliver our messages, and this is the time for us to really bring together this voice to the international, regional, and local levels, so we don't lose this opportunity to continue doing our work in taking care about life systems, taking care about biocultural heritage. Difficult times are here. The fire is speaking. The wind is speaking. All what we have seen and that we have been witnessing during these times is just the voice of the sacred elements. And remember that we are the reflection of those sacred elements. every single being in this planet we have. We have the blood, the waters, have the fire, have the wind when we breathe, and Mother Earth in ourselves. But we need to remember that the sacred food has to be also clean. So when we voice, when we speak, it's powerful. We honor the sacred trees and the sacred animals from the north and from the south, from the east and the west. This is the time for the spider to come and wave again. Those thoughts, those clean ideas that we need for this survival. We also need the presence of the sacred animals like the jaguar, the bat, the bear, the anaconda, the big snake, the presence of the beauty of the quetzal and other beings, but also the entities like the mermaid, the clanchana, the feather serpent. Because we were said that at the end of the fifth zone, May 3rd, 2013, we were going to go into a cleansing, 13 years. And then another era was going to begin with a new dawn. And we are here for the waiting of the coming back of the Quetzalcoatl, the feather serpent, to remind us how to live in responsibility. So this is the time, and the time is here. We are bringing the voice of the mountains, the top of the mountains, the volcanoes. We are bringing the voice of the creeks, the rivers, sacred rivers, the springs. We are bringing the voice of our ancestors. Brothers and sisters, it's a big honor to be here with you, to listen and to act and to feel together. Because the time, this is the time and space. This is the time, and the time is now to act together, to feel together, and to think together in a collective way of being. So our relatives remind us how to come together in this intercultural exchange, intercultural dialogue, so we can remember and we can raise consciousness of other institutions, IGOs, NGOs, at the UN, but mainly among our peoples, in our sacred territories. So we greet the deserts, we greet the ice worlds, we greet the jungles, we greet the forest and the wetlands and the sea and Father Sky. Brothers and sisters, this is the time to come together and share and remember who we are as human beings, that we are here for a purpose, and the purpose is the care of life. And we don't forget that those talents, they are not just gifts, they are responsibilities. And those responsibilities have to be shared in a collective way of thinking. Dikamadi, kwada kamadiku, dikmewa, moshingintini kwada, moshingintini ku. May this time, this circle be blessed, and all of you, your work, your sacred territories. So we greet with big honor to the Iroquois Confederacy and all peoples from the north, the Chilcotin, the Shuswap, the Cree, the Innu, but also the Arapaho, the Blackfeet, the Salish, the Lenape, the Narragansett, all people, beautiful people of the Cheyenne and the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota, the Apache, the Wirrarica, all peoples, especially the clans and the deities and entities that are taking care about sacred sites. And from the jungles and the forest, we also acknowledge the sacred earths, all the people in the Amazon that are suffering, and the Mapuche peoples in the south, in Argentina and Chile. So this is the time to really contain those four solutions that are trying to take over our territories. And we ask the Great Spirit Makihimu to protect our sacred territories, to protect ourselves, and to protect the divine and sacred teachings that we are still holding. So we will call upon the Nahuales, the great spiritual leaders, to continue the work that we have been doing for millennia, for centuries. And we continue this strengthening and communication and intention so we can be strong. And may this gathering be blessed, be flourished. And the flourished words be put out there. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for this opportunity to share with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mindahi. I'm so glad that it worked out that you were able to join us, and our love and our blessings to you and to your family. Certainly to your daughter, who I have had the pleasure of spending time with, a beautiful and brilliant young warrior, she Bastida, and good luck to you in your travels. We'll keep you in our prayers for all of the good work you're doing on behalf of Niguskiktimik, Mother Earth. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to go to Mi'kmaq Elder Marilyn Francis, who is a dear friend of mine, who has been teaching the 7 sacred teachings to our young people, and been teaching the 7 sacred teachings to our young people, and been teaching the 7 sacred teachings to. Can you pause your mic for just a minute? Can you pause your? Okay. Okay. And I thought these were teachings that we all could benefit from. So I asked Marilyn if she would please come and share these teachings with you all today. So Marilyn, it's wonderful to see your beautiful face. Thank you for joining us, and I'm just going to turn it over to you so you can go ahead and unmute your mic and start whenever you're ready.
Hello? Can you hear me? Yes? Okay. Hello? I keep hearing echoes. I hear my voice speaking. I keep hearing echoes. I hear my voice speaking.
Where there must be, do you have 2 devices going? Do you have a phone and a computer going? Where there must be, do you have two devices going? Do you have a phone and a
Hello?
computer going?
Okay.
Where there must be, do you have two devices going? Do you have a phone and a computer going?
No, I have it. I have my phone turned off.
Two devices going? Do you have a phone and a
No, I have it. I have my phone turned off.
All right, Marilyn, why don't you go out and then come back in? Marilyn, why don't you go out and then come back in?
Hello? Oh my goodness.
Okay. I think we're good now. Try it now.
Hello? Yeah, it's good. Well, and Sherri, my daughter was trying to get on, but she couldn't, I don't know, the second part, she wasn't able to sign back in. Megi Walali up dan ulit de Debbie. Gedu lim Megi Walali Gizuk. In Delusi Gabid Muin at where'd you go, Boston, Mass, but Signige Wigi Kespuik. Illinois Gadi. Megi Walali Kipu dan Imsekoe Abugun Muya Kuladet ak Lado and also the Marim Kuel dan Kiso. Jagami Jabit, White Buffalo Calf Woman, Milkamijina, Megi Gulalio, Dan Bejidayo, Kakabun Kuladet Sitkamu. Blue Scum, Sagawegi, Genema, Glamoxist, Jiganum, Megi Gulalio, Dan Wechkuweo, Kak Abugud Muya, Sitkamu. Big Moon, Big Baptism, a come set wisest. Megi Gulalio. In Delusi Gamid Moon, a Bildasi, Bejidayo for Lidet. Megi Salul no, Megi Delamol no. Akiju, Mamigel. Megi Gulalio, Seko Ignimuya. Musigus, Depkana set. Was Glogowich. Naguset, Samgon. Weiss, Nimage. Genemo, Kabiji. This one, set go, Ignimuya. Kiju, Megi Gulal. My name is Standing Bear, and I am from Boston, Mass, but I now live in one of the 7 districts of Illinois. They now call Migamagi. I live in Guestwood, and it's one of the 7 districts. Guestwood, Sipganagadi, Eskigogowik, Winnamagi, Ebigwik, Pictou, Siganet, Akeswick. I want to thank you all for, it's so great to be here with you. I'm still kind of, we had a Zoom last night with, speaking of prophecy, and it was just so full of love. I mean, at the end of our session, which was like 4 hours, our people were so happy. The young people were happy. The grandmothers and the grandfathers and the uncles and the aunties, the nephews, the nieces, the grandchildren. I mean, it was just totally amazing. And to come here and hear you all speak. John Bear Mitchell, but Maggie Gulan, I was so emotional when you told the story of the dawn. I even feel I'm getting emotional right now. It was the first time I heard that story, and I hold my mom's eagle feather. My mom, my mom was Evelyn Francis, and she founded the Boston Indian Council many years ago. And her and Anna Mae and other Illinois people. And my mom always told me the story of the Passamaquoddy, that to start the Indian Center, Danny Bassett told my mom, if you can bring 50 people together, we'll support you. So my mother and Anna Mae knocked on doors of all the Illinois people in Boston, Mass. And they had a meeting at 153 Moss Street across from the Boston Common. And the Passamaquoddy people came. And that's how the Boston Indian Council was created. My mom loved the Passamaquoddy. She loved the Penobscot, and she loved the Maliseet. She said we are all one. And anytime we went through Maine, she always stopped at different places. And I was just young, and I went to school at Tribe Incorporated in Bar Harbor, Maine, with Illinois people from different communities, both from Maine and Canada. And I think of all the teachers that she introduced me to, all those grandmas and granddads that helped me. Because back then, we didn't have ceremony and we didn't have these type of things. But when we used to go to Peter Dana Point, Pleasant Point, Indian Island, we always met amazing grandmothers and grandfathers who took us under their wing and spoke of our way of life. I didn't know my way of life. I didn't know who we were as Illinois people. But what I was brought up with, my grandmother brought us up never to be shameful of who we were. Or where we come from. I spent the first 14 years of my life with my grandmother. And then my mother and I connected, and I was with her till she passed 7 years ago. We just had ceremony for her in January. We had a sacred fire, and we had a feast for her, and it was an ancestral fire, so we invited all our ancestors to come, and we let them know how much they were missed, and how grateful that I am they stand with us. Because it's their strength that keeps us going. And I know to talk about the 7 sacred teachings, and but I just wanted you to know a little. And my daughter, Marilyn Lee Francis, is the district chief of Keswick. And there's only 2 district chiefs. And the other one is Gary Metallic from Listigish. He's been our light. He's been our teacher of bringing our people together. And it's true. We all have to work together. And last night when I was listening to I had the honor of opening the meeting with prayer. And I said, the only thing I ever remember of prophecy was when I was 14, a Mohawk traditional Indian, Dickie laughing, said one day an ill-new man would come. And whoever followed him to the mountains would be the ones to survive. He never said it was for illness. He said whoever followed this young man would be the ones to survive. And I don't know if anybody knows of that or that those are the words I remembered. I was only 14. And it's such an honor to sit here with such gifted people, such strong grandmothers and grandfathers who are willing to share their knowledge with the world, you know. And I heard of the Good Red Road. When I turned my life around, that was the road I wanted to follow. And my teacher told me, when you follow the Good Red Road, Marilyn, you have to treat everybody well. Doesn't matter who they are, where they come from, if they hurt you. He said, when you travel the Good Red Road, you have to help everyone. You have to have forgiveness in your heart. You can't pick and choose who you help. So that's how I try my best to live my life, is to help. My mom always said, when you help your people, you give them 100%, because they're used to being treated like second-class citizens. She said, it doesn't matter if one person shows up or 100 people show up. You give them the same respect, you give them the same kindness, you give them the same love, you change nothing. So, and my clan is the whale and the red-tailed hawk. And I give thanks to our way of life, you know. And when you speak of the young people, it's our obligation to help them, to teach them. Not to judge them, but to help them the best way we know how. So when I sit in ceremony, the eagle sits in the east where the sun rises. It represents love, you know. I work at some of the schools. Well, I worked more with schools until COVID came. When spirit of COVID came, it changed. But I still do Zoom and things like that. And I would go to the schools and I would bring all these beautiful teddy bears, you know. Before, you know, sometimes when you're taught something and you become a stickler and that's what you do. I used to only bring 7 stuffed animals for our children. And our children would have to sort of like, oh, they wanted the whale, or this one wanted the eagle, this one wanted the beaver, you know. So I just got many stuffed animals. And when we spoke of the 7 sacred teachings, they would say, which one they wanted, and they would express, you know. And they took the eagle and how that eagle made them feel. And they would say they could fly the highest, you know. And when you watch little kids, it's very important what you say to them. It's very important that you're kind and that you're not short with them. I still remember that, right? And we spoke of respect, respecting your parents, respecting themselves, respecting the land. You know, some of them didn't know that Mother Earth was our first mother. And they couldn't understand why people would want to hurt her. That's who wants to hurt their mom, right? And there was courage. We spoke of courage of the bear. And sometimes it takes courage to stand up for someone, to stand up for what's not right. It takes courage to be kind to everyone. And it takes love. And I know they say it's the buffalo that it's the animal that represents respect. But in our country, it's the moose. We have that relationship with the moose. And it gives up their life so we can live. And we honor, we respect. So we say back in the day, when you done hunting the right way, when you went out and you gave tobacco and you explained to the spirit of the moose why you were there, you didn't have to go far. The moose would come out and sacrifice himself so we could live. So I have a workshop coming up, and that's what we're going to be talking about is the moose. And honesty. I know people use sabe, blue scub, you know, but I use human. Because sometimes it's the human who has the hardest time with honesty. When you can be honest, you have no fear. You have no fear. You don't have to remember things. You know, I tell the kids when a person fibs, they have to make up more fibs when they talk to different people. So you don't want that. I always want to be honest. Sometimes you're scared to be honest. But honesty is always the best policy. I said it gives you integrity when you grow up. People will know you can be trusted, and that you're honest, you're courageous, you love. You know, it's funny, and the kids like that, you know. I always got to make a safe space for our children. And they always like the story of the beaver, of its wisdom. My mom always said that the beaver was our carpenter. That the beaver was the one that taught us how to build our homes. She said, if you look at a beaver's home, it has a front entrance and a back entrance. And the beaver could live on land and live on water. And I didn't know these things. I didn't know these things at all when I was young. I was like, oh yeah, right, Ma, you know. And she said, yeah, if harm comes in the front way, he could take his family out the back way. He said, to safety. And those were the teachings I remembered. And humility. And I think I was taught that from a young age, that we put others before us, that we're not better than anyone else. And when a leader has humility, that leader is a good leader because he puts his people first, or she puts her people first. That's how the wolves travel. The leader is always in the back and warn if there's any harm coming. It's not up front. If he was up front, he wouldn't be able to see anything. In truth, the turtle it's always good to be truthful. I remember I had to go to court one time. They told me to put my hand on the Bible and say these words. I told the judge, I can't do that. I said, I can do it. I said, but it doesn't mean anything to me. I can sit here and lie to you. I said, but no, if you let me hold an eagle feather, I'm obligated to tell you the truth. So because the eagle flies the highest, takes our prayers and our words to the Creator. You know, and I'm so happy I get to share these with the kids and even the adults, you know. Sometimes our adults, they need to hear these things. And I say, when you carry those 7 sacred teachings with you, if you live them and you carry them and you believe them, you can never go wrong. When you have the good intent in anything that you do, it will always come out right. And it's always an honor to work with children and the youth, because I know how good I felt when they shared our way of life with me when I was young. And that's what our children need. They need safe places so they can speak their truth. We talk about reconciliation. You know, we have to reconcile with those children. We need to give them what we didn't have. And I don't mean big fancy cars, and I don't mean the best clothes on the lot. It's the 7 teachings and more. You know, I used to be with the youth group, and when we used to meet, we'd have a talking circle on the act of kindness. First time I mentioned it, they were like, oh yeah, whatever. We don't want to do that. Oh. That's how kids are. But then when you teach them those 7 sacred teachings and you mention respect, then they kind of look different, you know. So I'll give you guys a break. You don't have to answer nothing this week, but you can come back next week and let me know what act of kindness you done. Boy, they couldn't wait to get in that circle. Hands were going up, and everyone wanted to be the first one to talk about their act of kindness. But sitting in a circle, we passed around a feather, an eagle feather, and they got to say their act of kindness. And it was from holding the door open for a grandmother going into Sobeys. It was from loaning a pencil to a schoolmate. And one little boy said, "You know what I did? There was a little boy crying, and I went over and I asked him, 'Are you all right?' And I helped him. I told him everything will be okay. And I hugged him. And so, you know, when we come from a place of love and we come from a place of respect, and to respect all, you know, respect everything. You know, they didn't know that we had a relationship with the animals. They didn't know that we respected the tree. And when the tree gave up its life, that we done ceremony for it. And we went to the water. We had ceremony, offered the moe. And for the fishes who live in the water, you know. Kids are amazing. So I do my best where I'm at to offer those teachings. Like I said, I can't force people. But when they come, they always come back. They always look at things differently. We make bundles, you know. We do things. We do artwork. We show them how grateful we are for them. We let them know they're sacred. Every person is sacred. And we don't tell our children that enough. We don't tell our sons, our daughters, how sacred they are, how much we love them. And sometimes these little children don't get that at home. So that's why it's important when we work with the youth, we treat them like our own. We pray for the goodness as we would pray for our own children, because they're all our children, and we're responsible for them. So I don't know how long I have to speak, but it's always an honor to be with people with like minds, you know, and to bring back our language, you know, our language is coming back so strong, you know, and when you're with your children, that's what you do. You know, you say samgun, water, you know, so they understand, you know, bigwin, feather. And they like that. So when they come back, they'll say, hey, you know, they'll even ask, can we do the spirit plate? Can we smudge? Can we smudge the building? Can we smudge everyone? So yes, I want to thank you all, and Sherri, so much for your invite. I don't know if that is what we, I don't know. I have a song. If you want me to do a song, do we have time for a song?
If you want to end with a song, I would love that.
Okay. You know, last night's, I'm telling you, last night's Zoom was amazing. Nigma Han was, she's a force, I'm sure, that we all know. And she's always loved, and she's amazing. I got this song, I think it was in 1990. we were at a grandmother's gathering, and I don't like saying elder. I met a grandmother there, and she called me over, and I went to her, and she said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm not doing anything." She said, "You know what's wrong with you?" She said, "Poor Marilyn," she said, "she gives everything away. She gives her drums away. She gives her skirts away. She gives everything away. So now Marilyn has no bundle and Marilyn has nothing." She said, "Because you also push away creators' gifts to you." I was like, "Oh, she meant business." So I said, "Oh, so she said, "This is what I want you to do," you know. And she gave me what I was supposed to do. And, we met again, and, we kept in contact after that because she was so funny, and laughter is good medicine. We could be in a place, everybody's sad, and then of course somebody will say something to make you smile. But this song is called Mijiwaji Kasalo, which means children, I love you. And at that time, we were speaking of trauma. We were speaking of different abuses against our people. So I don't know, just one day, and I'm telling you, I'm not a singer. If my mother was here, she'd say, "Oh, please don't let her sing." But they say, whatever you put out in the universe is what's going to be. So I'm going to say, "Oh my God, I can sing. I have such a beautiful voice." I'm going to be up there with Cher one day. No. But yes, I love you. That's all I can say. Hey, 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 hiya. Hey, 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 hiya. Kisu kabuginoi. Kisu kiganamoi. Kisu kesaru. Hey, 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 hiya. Hey, 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 hiya. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Kisu kelawe. Mijiwaji nakamlamo. Hey, 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 hiya. Hey, 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 hiya. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Kisu kelawe. Nibidi gilme. Hello, hey, 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 hiya. Nibidi mijiwaji. Nebo sokiye. Hey, 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 hiya. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Hey, 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 hiya. Kisu kelawe. Mijiwaji kesaru. Kuchina kesaru. Kisu kesaru. Hey, 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 hiya. My sister away. Kisu kabugunwiye. Kisu kabugunwiye. Hey, 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 hiya. Kisu kelawe. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji jabugunupsin. Hey, 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 hiya. Insect no gama. Gedu abugunwiye. Hey, 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 hiya. Hey, 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 hiya. Mijiwaji jabugunupsin. Mijiwaji jabugunupsin. Mijiwaji kesaru. Mijiwaji kesaru. Kisu kesaru. Hey, 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 hiya. Kisu kelawe. Kisu kelawe. Hey, 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 hiya. Mijiwaji kesaru. Wario.
Walalio, Walalin, Dalin.
Darling, darling.
Miss
Always
you.
welcome. I miss you. I'm
Yeah.
so proud of the work you're doing. When I think of you, my heart just moves.
Save a big hug for me when I see you next.
Oh, I can
I
feel
need-
it now.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I
I
love
need it.
you guys. And thank you, John Bear and everyone else and Ron. It's been a long time. Guess hello. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marilyn.
Mega Galali up from sitting over there.
So those are beautiful and important teachings. Those 7 sacred teachings, we try to teach those to our children as well. And get them moving on that good path, that Shelley was talking about too, that good life. That we send them off on that good life when we teach them these things, these core values, these are core cultural values for us. And so next we're going to go to Diane Longboat, Kahontakwas, who is from the Mohawk Nation. Diane, thank you for joining us, and we'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you so much, Sherri. Sego Scano Seguego Kahontakwas Yumyats. My Mohawk name is Kahontakwas. It means she's picking sweetgrass, and I'm Turtle Clan from the Mohawk Nation territory of 6 nations in the Grand River Territory. So southwest of Toronto, about an hour and a half. I want to first begin by adding some words to the Hodongaliwadekwa, our Thanksgiving address that was given this morning, and just say some words over us before I share some thoughts with you. Yawa Sambwe Diso, Kahontakwas Yumyats. So grateful to you, Sambwe Diso, for the gift of life for one more day, for the magnificent garden of humanity that you have placed here on the earth, different faith traditions and teachings and cultures and languages and ways of being on the earth that make us so rich as a human family. So grateful, Sambwe Diso, that you had a vision of creating the most magnificent place in the universe and visiting those already created places that have beautiful pollen and rich soils. And as you mix them all together to form our Mother the Earth, you created this place that is a jewel in the universe. The stars that had water, the little hummingbird that visited them and brought water to the earth. I'm so grateful to the salt waters, the rain waters, the fresh waters, and the birth waters. So grateful that there are grandmothers that stand in those beautiful waters, protecting them, guarding them, and teaching us. I'll give thanks this day for the oldest form of creation on the earth, the plant life, the medicine plants, the food plants, all of those plants that are standing shoulder to shoulder, each one supporting the other and working together in this beautiful harmony. The animal life that is here in our area, the deer is the lead of all of those animals. Give thanks to all the bird life, those that stayed with us during the winter and those returning in the springtime. So grateful for all of those birds that sing to us and that keep us happy. The eagle that carries our prayers to the Creator, for it is the strongest bird and has that duty and responsibility. I want to acknowledge and give thanks to all those living beings in the great waters of the earth, the whales that hold the wisdom of creation, and the grandmother turtle holding up the earth on her back, that first earth when it was one landmass. Today, the snow is blowing in our area here. And I honor the 4 grandfather winds that refresh and cleanse Mother Earth. I honor the white thunderbirds bringing ice and snow, for that they are dressing Mother Earth in such a beautiful white dress so that she can rest and renew herself in this season. I give thanks also and honor the Ladihuelos, those thunder beings, 10 of them, 10 thunder beings that refresh Mother Earth with the great waters, the ice and snow that they bring, and the lightning from their eyes that ionizes the air and energizes us because we have electrical impulses in our bodies. We give thanks this day for those 4 sacred beings that the Creator put in place just to hover over the earth. And from time to time, one of them has been lowered here to walk amongst us as human family, to remind us of our sacred duties and obligations. This day, we also lift up and honor all of those stars that represent our ancestors, shining so beautifully in the nighttime sky, reminding us that it is possible to complete your spiritual mandate and to find that place of honor in the sky world there, that the Creator would allow us to shine back on the earth and inspire human beings, that we have each been given a spiritual mandate to fulfill. I want to raise up and honor the leader of all female life on the earth, our grandmother, the moon, pulling the tides, ensuring that underneath those waters, there is always a refreshment and a renewal of life under the waters, taking care of fertility, bringing new life into the world in the many cycles that she moves through in a year, ensuring that the Creator's law for the continuance of life is always fulfilled. We thank our brother, the sun, for the light that he brings to the world so that all living things can flourish here. And to that great star formation called the Milky Way, a 2-lane highway, joining the natural world of Mother Earth to the high heavens of the sky world, where we all originated. On one side of that highway, the new life entering the world, the unborn that are coming here to enrich our life, and those that are preparing to leave, the dying, and those that have passed on, who actually put their feet on that sky road, their souls returning to that place where we were created and given our spiritual directions and gifts. That sky road joins the natural world where we are in right now to that place of peace. And we see there the fires of our ancestors that are burning. The ancestors who understand what it is to be a frail and imperfect human being with only one drop of wisdom, where the Creator has infinite wisdom. So we give thanks to the ancestors for continuing to pray for us, to be amongst us now and give us the guidance and the teaching and the correction that we need. We also honor and give thanks to all of those beings that are seated at the Creator's council fire, great ones that have walked before us, great healers and teachers and leaders and speakers, great protectors of the people, and the leaders of medicine societies, the spiritual beings that assisted the Creator at the time of creation, some of whom stayed here on the earth with us, and others that returned to the sky world to be seated at that great council fire. We acknowledge all of them, for they answer the tobacco that we offer every single day under the direction of the Creator. And so as Ongwehonwe people of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, in our Ohudon Gulliwarekwa, we're always taught to leave the Creator last. The last is always the most humble, and always thinking of the gratitude, absolute gratitude that we have for being human at this time period, being given the beauty of being created with gifts to serve the world in the most powerful era that humanity has ever gone through. Give thanks to all of those spiritual beings that continue to answer our tobacco and to watch over us, and for the Creator to hear those prayers that we make, and for the Creator to be able to answer those prayers. I'm so, so grateful to the Creator, for He created this place where we can live and we can thrive. And today we think about all the people of the earth, those that are in prison, in psychiatric institutions, those that are left homeless on the streets in the richest countries of the world. We think of all of those now who are dying, preparing to walk that sky road. We lift up and raise all those people whose relatives and beloved ones have passed on into the spirit world, who need comfort, who need a reason to keep going. And we lift them all up today. And we say that in the words, Creator, of all these beautiful elders, we give thanks that you have made this beautiful place for us, that you have created it and told us there are two laws that must govern us here, that we must take care of your creation. Our brothers and sisters of creation are to be seen equal to ourselves, and to take care of each other with honor and love and respect and dignity. And thank you, Sangwe Diso, our Creator, for giving us this beautiful place we call our Mother the Earth. Thank you for teaching us to be humble every single day and to always remember to give thanks, that giving of thanks needs to start our days. Nyawa to you, Creator, for continuing to love us as we learn some of our most difficult lessons. And so with these words, we give thanks to our Creator for all of what we have been given. And we ask for prayers for all elders who are here meeting us in this time period. We give thanks to them for sharing the most beautiful wisdom that they can bring, that is so needed at this time. We pray for their beloved ones, their families, communities, nations. And we give thanks to you, Sangwe Diso, for the deep love and care that you have for us. Yahweh. So I like to offer those words before I bring you into the lodge that you see behind me. It is the lodge in my particular land at Six Nations Grand River Territory, and it's called the Lodge of Soul of the Mother. It's a lodge of spirit and vision and spiritual training. And I want to, before I tell you about that sacred fire, I want to tell you about how this lodge evolved. So in the very early 80s, I received a number of dreams, and I have always received dreams since my childhood. But in the early 80s, I received dreams about my healing. And in my dream, a very, very good friend of mine came to me, and she told me that there were 5 main character flaws that I had, that I needed to deal with, because if I didn't deal with them, that they would cripple me and that I would never be able to receive and fulfill the gifts and the duties that the Creator had planned for me. And so I began to sit and think about that and how I was going to deal with that dream. Because, you know, you get some dreams that are flashes of the future, flashes of warnings, flashes of beloved ones that have passed on. They bring messages. It's really beautiful. But today I really wanted to talk to you about the ancestors. Because in my dreams, the ancestors would appear to me. And one of my beloved ancestors is Ernie Benedict from the Mohawk Nation at Akwesasne. He gave me in my dream my first pipe, and he told me that I needed to work with that pipe and that it would guide me through the 5 issues that I had to deal with that were really upfront prominent, upfront and defining me, who I was as a human being. And so I began to sit with that pipe every day, except when I was on my moon. And other time I would use the buffalo sage. And so during that time, it led me into time of meeting the grandmothers and the grandfathers, the spiritual beings, led me to meeting the ancestors. And it led me through a process where I would first be able to see them. And in my second stage, I could receive a message from them. And I thought, wow, this is such a beautiful and powerful way of life. And in my third stage, they allowed me to ask them a question. And it was in my fourth stage that I could have visual contact with them and hear their voices and have a conversation with them. And I know that as much as I went through that training alone with my ancestors, that's available to everybody. It's not just me. It's not just me. And I know that the Creator was preparing me for something. And so when I bring you into this place that's the sacred fire is burning there, I want to speak about that vision that came to me in 1994. It came from Spirit Woman. And at that time, she appeared to me and she said to me, the life that you think you've made for yourself is over. And I was living in the city at that time, and I was running a program at the University of Toronto, and I was developing First Nations House, the Office of Indigenous Student Services and Programs. And I was visiting faculties and inspiring faculties that they should have Indigenous wisdom, traditions, and content and knowledge in their programs. And it was the beginning of seeding the Indigenous Studies program that exists today. And today, First Nations House at the University of Toronto is still in operation today. And so the life that you think you've made for yourself is over here. You will return to the place where you were born, and you will light a fire of peace there. And to that fire of peace, the nations of your people will come, not to change who they are, but to feel the true and living essence of spirit, that strong connection to the Creator. And when you are strong enough, the doors of that lodge will open, and you will admit white people, Black people, and yellow people to that sacred fire, for they will be seeking the same as your own people, the red people. And the Creator does not intend you to do this work alone, but will send the strongest warriors to stand with you at this fire. And so, you know, I say today, I honor the Spirit Woman for what she brought to me, and all her words have come true, not only in that time of the message from 1994, but subsequent to that time. So I lift her up and I honor her. And I see today Beverly Little Thunder here. and from the same people who received her. So I want to talk about how important the ancestors are. I felt something at the end of August, the beginning of September. I felt a shift, a change in Mother Earth. And I felt something happen that began to shift the consciousness of humanity, lifting up our minds to a place and a time where Indigenous peoples are coming to the forefront for the wisdom and the knowledge that we have of how to live in the world and how to take care of Mother Earth. And if I could say in just a few words, all those teachings from all the nations of people that I've had a chance to sit with over time, those teachings have all been about human nature. How to carry yourself in the world so that you are in balance as a human being in mind, body, spirit, and emotions, your heart, but also to be in balance with others, with our partners, with our children, with our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. If you're lucky enough, and there's some among us that are lucky enough for great-great-grandchildren, to be in balance in relationship, in community, to be that individual that carries those highest values in the community and aspires to those values in our relationships. And because we are imperfect human beings, we're not always going to achieve that. But we do our best every single day. And I think of Haudenosaunee values, and those values of first and foremost, always love, love, love as the most important and big medicine in the universe. Without that, there's no healing, there's no teaching, there's no growth, there's no transformation. And I think about respect and how our parents raised us to respect all people, and see differences as rich opportunities to learn more, experience more, to grow ourselves within our own minds and our own abilities. And compassion. That everybody has a story. I remember my daughter when she was 3 years old and we were still living in the city at that time. My husband and my older daughter, who was 7, were walking along a street, and we're a side street in Toronto, and we're going to the world's biggest bookstore. And there was a man that was sitting on the side of that bookstore. He had his head down, and from a distance, you could see that he had received some of the hardest times in life. And my daughter, who was 3 years old, looked up at me and she said, "Mom, that man needs help over there. What can we give him?" And I reached into my wallet and I had a little bit of money and I gave it to her. And I said, "Here, you go and share with that man." So she ran ahead. She ran ahead of us, and we were the only ones on the street. It was early Sunday morning. And I saw her stand in front of him, and he raised his head to her. And she talked to him, and he was talking back and forth to her. They had their little visit, their conversation. And then we got there. And we looked at him and we had our conversation with him, shook hands with him. And, that was, for me, one of the most profound acts of kindness that I'd ever seen from a child. And I do believe that act of kindness was brought to her from my dad. We ran a farm in my community of Six Nations, Grand River Territory, in the 40s and 50s, coming into the 60s, and 300 acres. And that was a big farm during those hard times, and there's no welfare, and people are coming home from the war, and families are poor, and sharing what we had from our farm. And I remember walking up the laneway with my dad, and I was so young that I had to reach up to hold his hand. And I still remember what he was wearing, his work shirt and his overalls, his denim overalls and rubber boots. We were coming from the barn. And one of our neighbors who lived about 2-3 miles away came walking down the road. And in those days, there was not many cars in the communities in the 50s. And I remember him walking up the laneway and talking to my father and saying to my dad, "My family's hungry. I don't have anything for them. You have anything? You have anything that I can borrow?" And I remember my dad pulling a $5 bill from his pocket and handing that over that and saying, "We just picked some apples and there's a whole bushel of apples there. You're welcome to take that." And I remember, in those days, as I got older and went to school, bread's like 25 cents a loaf. So, getting $5 could really stretch it in those days. So I like to think that kindness passed down from my dad to my daughter and to those of us in our family. And, when you think about those times in the 40s and 50s and 60s, what we had in that time was, in my community, a residential school called the Mohawk Institute. And of course, like all boarding schools, whether you're in the States or you're in Canada, sexual abuse, physical abuse, starvation, and beatings. The wholesale intent of destroying the Indigenous family, child by child. And so when we think about that time period, the chiefs, the clan mothers, and faith keepers of our nation are struggling against the effects of a school that really admitted students in 1828, just the boys, to learn farming, and then opened its doors as a so-called school in 1831 and never closed until 1970. So the generations of young people that went through there who were so damaged and wounded by that experience. The chiefs and the clan mothers and faith keepers worried about, how is it that our people are going to survive with language and culture and ceremonies and traditional teachings? How is it? And they cried to the Creator for us in our generation to pick that up, to make sure that our people could live and that this could continue. I remember that teaching from Tom Porter, because that was a dream that he had, that he shared with us, that our chiefs, our clan mothers and faith keepers cried to the Creator for the continuance of our people. And so, I want to lift up today Jake Thomas and Hubert Buck and his dad, George Buck, and Josie Logan, Daisy Thomas, chiefs and clan mothers, seers. Daisy was a seer, and helped me with my clan and my name. So they cried to the Creator for that help. And the Creator answered. In my generation, I can remember when I was 17 and 18, not knowing when I say I'm Ganyange Haga, like, what does that really mean? When I say I'm a woman, what does that really mean? And the long journey to find the answers to that, the long journey. And today, I think about the challenges we had in 1990. And I'm so grateful to the Creator for the dreams that I was given to be able to answer those dreams through our chiefs, and both in Canada and the US side, and to take that dream of where the medicine needed to be renewed. Because when medicine is spoiled in your house, you gotta go to your neighbors for, and the other side of the clans for that renewal. And so I went to the Anishinaabe Nation with 40 individuals from that place at Oka of great conflict. And so, you know, today what I can say is that the ancestors and the dreams and the visions have all been true for the guidance that I received in my life. Because it was the Anishinaabe Nation that opened their doors to us with fasting lodges, G-Scon, the shake tent, the sun dance, the ghost dance, the warrior dance, the contrary dance. They opened their doors to us so that we could heal as individuals and bring that healing home to our people, and to balance that healing with our own teachings in the Longhouse. So I'm very grateful to the ancestors today for everything that they've given us. And when I say to you that something shifted in August of September in 2021, what I want to say is that despite all the challenges we've had of the pandemic, that I believe that the great wisdom traditions of our people, the voices of our people, are being given a place at the table now. We're being given a seat in places where we've never been able to walk before. Because there are more people that understand this way of life and support our people than those who do not. And I want to own that statement, because it's been my experience that things are shifting organizationally, they're shifting internationally, nationally, and regionally, because the change in Mother Earth, the voice of Mother Earth, is being sounded now across the face of Mother Earth, in the waters, in the land, in the air, the atmosphere that's around the earth. The voice of Mother Earth is being sounded throughout creation and the universe, that says we have to change our values as a human family. We can no longer support that whole notion of rugged individualism, that, you know, getting a good education and having money is your purpose in life. Our purpose in life is to love unconditionally. Our purpose in life is to share generously, to protect the earth, and to have relationships around us that are unconditionally loving. And so, you know, we've been given an opportunity to live in this time period. And what I want to say to you is that we need to unify as a human family. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be with you today. And I thank Sherri and all the organizers who are here, all the beautiful elders that are here. You know, I lift you up and I hold you in my prayers. Nyawa, Nyawa, Sewakweko, Nyawa, Sherri.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for those beautiful, beautiful words, for your prayers, for reminding us of our place within creation. You know, we get so caught up in our own movement as human beings that we forget we're just a small part of larger creation. And so I want to thank you for reminding us of that, and of you know, all of those sacred teachings, and you know, some of the elders that you mentioned, some of us have also sat with those elders, and we're you know, we just remember those moments when they woke something up within us, because those, you know, and I was thinking of that when I was sitting back here listening to you talk, and I was thinking of how I sat around a fire and listened to Tom Porter talk, and I sat around a fire and listened to Clint's grandmother, auntie, whatever, is it your auntie, your grandmother, Audrey Shenandoah, speak, and Bennett Lyons, and Bobby Seabilly, and so many other beautiful elders, Chief Overlooking Horse, who was going to be with us today but wasn't able to because he had to go to a funeral, and having moments where something was awakened within me, as a result of listening to the voices of those elders and listening to the teachings that they had to offer to us, and how meaningful and how deeply impactful that's been on my life, and how it actually created a course correction, these little tiny subtle course corrections that keep us moving on that red road, that path that we talk about here. I talk about a lot, that Shelley Charles talked to us about this morning, what we call here in our territory, Skidgenoe-Bamasuagan. And so I was sitting here and I was listening to you, and I was imagining that these words are also going to touch the hearts of some people that are listening today, and it's going to give them that little micro movement of course correction to bring them back in alignment with their humanity, but also with their spiritual path. So, Kachiwaliwan, thank you so much.